Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Thursday. It is the 11th day of December 2025. I hope you're all safe and healthy today and that you're enjoying your Thursday with you and your family being safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the area of health with first responders every day trying their best to save lives. Those also that pick up garbage to keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that create the demands that cause these industries to exist. Finally, double blessings upon the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. So one of the what's the word I'm looking for? One of the wild cards, that's the word I'm looking for. One of the wild cards for the Knicks this year on the positive side has been obviously the shooting of Josh Hart. So Josh Hart for his career has never been a great three-point shooter. For his career, let me look this up. But for his career, I'm looking it up now. But I'm gonna tell you, his career is below 40%. He's not been an elite. I don't even know if you want to call Josh Hart an average, three-point shooter for his career. But that has certainly changed this year, and this is a function that every good NBA player, that wants to be good, they work on their game every year, all the time. But it gets to a point where, you're not going to get any better. Okay, so you're going to keep trying, and what you're doing at that point is just keeping and sharpening the skill that you already have developed. But sometimes, and not all, and a lot of times, it irks me when people expect every player to just improve in areas that they don't have the real talent to perform. Like Mitchell Robinson with his foul shots. Okay, he's not a foul shooter. You can't make him a 90% foul shooter. He would never be that. But can you get him to 60? He was 50 last year. Can you get him to 60? It's possible, but then there's regression also. So he improved his game in terms of committing silly fouls, in terms of covering ground, in terms of reading defense, in terms of offensive rebounding. He's become a top in those areas, but he's regressed as far as foul shooting. And yes, it's all in his head, but that doesn't solve the problem. So, okay, it's all in his head. So it wasn't Wilt Chamberlain, too, probably the most physically gifted and most physically dominant player the NBA has ever seen, couldn't shoot foul shots. Okay, so it's not unusual. Shaquille O'Neal, another one, physically dominant, could not be stopped. They didn't officially change the rules for Shaq, but if you actually saw Shaq's career from when he come out of LSU and he went to the Magic, and then he went from the Magic to the Lakers, in those years, I'm not talking about after he went to the Heat and started trying to chase rings, and he won one with D Wade. That was him past his prime. But prime Shaq, they would allow people to foul him. The NBA just let the refs would allow people to hang all over him and not give him calls because he was too physically overwhelming for people. It just was like that. Just if Shaq got the ball on the block, even if it was a double team, forget it. He was going to score, okay? So they allowed people to push him, grab him, foul him, and not call it. And he got to the point he just wasn't he wasn't arguing with the refs because he knew he wasn't going to get the call. Then they would foul him, hack a Shaq, try to make him miss free throws, But he was never as bad as what Mitch is right now. But there's just guys that can't shoot foul shots. Now, Mitch works on his foul shots. He's working on them all the time, but he's not improving. So that's the key. So when you see a guy improve significantly in an area, that's a real rarity in the league because nobody is like, the league is the best players in the world. And so while everybody's trying to improve all areas of their game, it's not always that people do that. So Michael Jordan, for example, and Kobe, both of them in the beginning of their careers, their athleticism was so elite that they could do what they want on the basketball floor offensively because they was just too quick, too strong, too much athleticism for most, and too skilled for most people. Both of them, after they became veterans. So really, like, let's say Jordan post age 26, same with Kobe, post age 26, they started really perfecting post play. And you would see Jordan and both of them masters at footwork on the post play. It's greatness. That's what it is. It really is greatness because you already are physically gifted in terms of you come into the NBA with physical, athletic, and skill levels that most of the other 400 best players in the world do not possess. But then as your physical skill levels diminish even slightly, you have now perfected footwork so that you don't necessarily have to use your overwhelming athleticism anymore because now you have footwork to create elite pivot offensive moves, which both Jordan and Kobe possessed. Doesn't always happen like that. It's not easy to do and it's rare. So here we have Josh Hart, who's 34 and a half, let's call it 35% career three-point shooter, is now a 40% three-point shooter. Okay, that doesn't happen all the time. And I think, and it's scary to think, because sometimes there are players who has a career year in an area, like three-point shooting, and it never repeats. Like they get this level for maybe 1 year, and for whatever reason, it goes back to the norm, goes back to the mean. So in the case of Josh, he's shooting 40 this year. If he wasn't to continue this type of shooting, he would go back to the 35% that he was before. But with Josh, I don't think that's the case. He's worked so hard on his three-pointer that even with the bad finger, the technique is the same. He doesn't change his shot. His balance is perfect. He has it so that you would think he'd been shooting like that all the time, and he wasn't. That's why I never really counted Josh's three-point production as something I was going to count on for the Knicks because he brings other things to the table, which brings me to this point. Josh Hart already brings a lot to the table in terms of hustle, obviously rebounding ability. He brings that, to the table, 8 boards a game, and that's pretty much between 7 and 8 is his career. That's huge for a guy that's 6'4", okay? You got guys 7 feet, don't do that. So Josh been doing that his whole career. And we know he's had multiple triple-double games, including double digits in rebounding. So that happens every year with him. So he also throws 5 assists a game. So he's a really, really good role player. Really, really good in the league, okay? So you add to that. And then, defensively, at 6'4", he pretty much guards everybody on the floor. Now, somebody said, well, he gets beat. Everybody gets beat. This is the league. What you want to know is how often does he cost the Knicks a game because of his height or lack thereof? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the Knicks lose a game because Josh Hart is too small. I have not seen it. Now, there have been plays where 7-footers take advantage of him, post him up. Laurie Marketing in them. They take possession, they take advantage and post him up. But they can only do it a couple of plays. Josh is too tough. He's not going to let you get that position. He's a fighter. That's one of the things that makes him who he is. He's a fighter. So you add all of that. So he's a net positive for the Knicks, as a part of a starting unit. He adds more than he takes away. You add to that a 40% shooter now. So now in the league, one of the things defensive do, they take the weakest link. They do it offensively and defensively. We've already seen it on the Knicks, for example. They will attack Jalen Brunson. Why? He's the weakest link defensively. So they will attack him. The Knicks try their best to put Brunson in positions where it won't work. Either he's getting help or he's outside on the perimeter guarding a guy bigger than him that's not going to post him from 30 feet away, right? So they try to put him in positions where he's not being at a disadvantage defensively. Whereas the opponent is trying to work positions where they get him on a bigger guy on the low block and he can't do anything about it. That does happen every game. But again, we've never lost a game because of that. It works a couple of times, but sometimes the focus on that causes the team with the ball to focus so much on it, they end up turning the ball over. Okay, that happens a lot. So they got to try. It's a cat and mouse game, and every team plays it. Offensively, what you want to do is you want to leave the weakest shooter open. So if you got guys like, say, the Boston Celtics, you have 5 starters. Your weakest, in their championship year, your weakest shooter was Jaylen Brown. So if you're going to leave somebody open, it ain't going to be Jrue Holiday. It ain't going to be Derek White. This is the championship year. It ain't going to be Kristaps Porzingis. It ain't going to be Al Horford. It ain't going to be Jason Tatum. It ain't going to be Peyton Pritchard. It ain't going to be Sam Hauser. It's going to be Jaylen Brown. You're going to leave him open. Now, Brown improved. He also improved his three-point shot so that now it's more consistent. So it makes him tougher. Now you got to pick your poison. So you try to leave Brown open and he hits 3 3-pointers, right? So you got to guard him. Then you can't leave nobody open. That must make them almost impossible to guard. It's like pick your poison. So with the Knicks, they're on the cusp of that right now. And that means on the cusp. They're not quite there yet. And the reason they're not quite there is because of injuries. So you get back Deuce, you get back Shaman, and you get that full contingent out there. Now you have a pick your poison situation. Now we're talking about if they stay healthy and they keep playing together, which are, the health thing, you can't really control that. But let's say they stay healthy and the playing together, you can. So if you're healthy, you're all going to play together. So that's why the starting 5 that we have right now with Josh Hart, which is why even though I favored Deuce to start, I told you I understand if Josh Hart start, because that 5 has played together for at least an entire season, right? So Josh Hart started with Cat, and they played together the entire season. Without Cat, when you put the rest of the 4 together, to 2 other Villanova boys, and you put them together with OG, they played together for almost 2 seasons. So they know each other, okay? And that counts for, so that continuity is important. So now you got, that team knows each other. They play together for over a season now. So you're going to have some continuity. Now is pick your poison. Now, when you get that, and then you get Shaman and Deuce and Clarkson and Yabusele, and they're used to playing, that's going to be your rotation, unless Yabusele falls out of it. And I would think it's not going to be Kohler because you already got 3 guards. And the full rotation, if it's not Yabusele, it's going to have to be either Huporti or Diawara. And I don't think you can go wrong either way there. But that's another point. For now, it's Yabusele. So you got Yabusele, Deuce, Shaman, Clarkson. That's your 4. He's going to play 9. So there you go. He'll get a couple minutes for Kolek here and there. Maybe one of the other youngins, like I mentioned, a Diawara or Huporti here and there. But that's your 9-man rotation right there. So there, when they get acclimated and they're healthy, who you going to let shoot? The worst 2 shooters in that 9-man rotation as of now are from 3-point range are Jordan Clarkson and Gershon Yabusele. Those are your worst ones. One shoot 30%, one shoot 28% from 3. That's who you want to shoot, right? And they're playing against second units. So what we've noticed is the second units, the last game especially, when they played in this last game against the Raptors, let's look at this now. You look at Clarkson. Clarkson was 5 of 10 from the field. He only took 1 3-pointer because he's not shooting it well. So Clarkson smartly went to the basket. He was trying to get in the paint, and he was very successful. He scored 12 points on 5 shots, and he was 5 of 10. From the field is plus 10. So Yabusele only played 7 minutes. He didn't even get rotation minutes the last game. He also only took 1 shot, 1 3-pointer. That's all he took. Okay, so again, they could get away with that against second units. They can't get away with that in starting units. And so in the starting units, you had everybody take at least 1 3 except. Oh, no, they all took at least 1 3 because in the starting units, that's where they're going to set it up, that is the defense, so that your weakest shooter gets the most shots. So here, OG is not our weakest shooter. He got 6 3-pointers up, but he only hit 1, so he just wasn't hitting well that day. Karl Anthony Towns is definitely not our weakest shooter. Matter of fact, Karl Anthony Towns shooting, he was at 33, now he's at 35. I'm going to tell you what, he's going to get it. His career average is 40. He's going to get his career average. He is, before it's all said and done, superstars get their career average. Karl Anthony Towns is a superstar. He's in his prime. He's going to get his 40%. So he only took 2 though, because he hasn't been hitting. He's been going to the hole. Now they gave Josh Hart, and I mean gave. Josh Hart had 7 3-point attempts. Why? He was perceived to be the weakest shooter. So they were giving him, they were doubling everybody else and choosing to let Josh Hart try to beat him. He hits 4 of them. Generally, Josh Hart hits about 2 3-pointers a game. So generally, he will produce about 6 points on threes. But he's produced 12. That's 6 extra points. That's a lot, okay, in the league from one player. That could win you a lot of games right there. So now you're going to have to choose between 5 guys that are potentially 40% three-point shooters. And that's the Boston Celtics. The difference is the Boston Celtics, which is not really a difference, but I'm talking about the championship year for the Celtics. They had the starting 5 that was shooting a good 40% clip, 39, 40% as a group. But then you got Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench, Sham Hauser coming off the bench. They could hit threes, okay? You had those guys coming off the bench hitting threes, and so what are you going to do? In the Knicks case, Shaman and Deuce are already above 40%, and they're going to remain so, okay? Shaman and Deuce are going to be 40% three-point shooters this year. Will Yabusele, Will Clark, I don't think Clarkson, let me look at this step, but I don't think Clarkson is a career 40% shooter from 3. Clarkson is what we would label a scorer. A scorer is a guy that doesn't necessarily, he's not like a guy that's going to get his points strictly shooting spot up jump shots. He's a guy that's going to get his points, period. However way he gets them, a steal, a deal, a wheel, he going to get his points. I mean, see, whatever way he going to get them. You're not going to stop him from getting his points. That's a scorer. Okay, so you can try to let him have threes and back up off him, but he might, like they did that against Toronto. He didn't take it. He went into the paint. Okay, he went into the paint to try to get more close to the basket. He's a scorer, so he's going to figure out how to get the ball in the hole. That's his thing. Okay, so I'm not going to predict Josh Hart to be a 40% shooter. Hey, if Boyd gets to league average, which is about 35. If he gets there, that's good enough. Because again, Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, Landry Shaman, Yabusele, they're playing against second units. They're playing against bench guys. Okay, so what I'm saying is they are not as savvy, nor do they have to play as many minutes as the starters. Okay, so those type of strategies are not as effective on the bench units. Okay, they're not as effective. So that is why we're talking about what we're talking about. A first unit with 5 40% shooters, a second unit with 2 at least 40% shooters. I don't know what to expect from Yabusele. He shot almost 40% with Philly, but it was garbage. They were a lottery team. Okay, so I don't know how serious I can take it with him. But again, we're still early, so I don't want to place anything that definite. Like I could definitely tell you, Karl Anthony Towns is going to shoot 40 from 3. I could tell you that. I don't care what it looks like now. By the time you get to the end of the season, you're going to look at Karl Anthony Towns' 3-point percentage, you're going to say, oh, 40%. Same with Deuce McBride, same with Landry Shaman. Okay? They may get rough times, like Shaman's got to come back from his injury, Deuce got to come back from his. You know they're going to have some off nights trying to get back acclimated, but it ain't going to be long. It's just a matter of time. They're going to be shooting what they shoot, 40% from 3. Okay? So, but I don't know about Yabusele, I don't know about Carlton, but we don't need to know. All we need to do is, are they going to be positive? Like between the two of them, it was plus 10 and minus 4, so that's plus 6. Are we going to get plus from them? That's what I want to know. I believe we are over time. And we're going to get 40% shooting from Deuce and Shaman, which means on a strict 4 guys from the bench plus a starter, you're going to have at least 3 40% shooters. On a situation where you take a Deuce or a Shaman and you put him with the starting unit, you're going to have 5 40% shooters. That's tough to beat, especially when the Knicks are playing defense. And this is the thing right now, in terms of the Eastern Conference right now, the Knicks have a plus 8.6, call it plus 9 a differential. That's ridiculous. The best differential in the league is Oklahoma City. Let me tell you something. Oklahoma City is running away with the season. So look, when looking at Oklahoma City, like you really got two comps. There's that Bulls team that won 72 games and that Golden State Warriors team that won 73 games. Those are the comps, okay? So the likelihood is they will win another championship. That's the likelihood because they just head and shoulder. Look, they're 24-1. That's ridiculous. Okay, so that's not just SGA. SGA is the head of the snake, but you got to have a team. SGA is a great player. Okay, great player. So is Jokic, right? So is Durant. So is Luka. So is Victor Wembanyama. You know, they got a lot of great players. And I'm not saying SGA is greater than all of them. He's the MVP, obviously, so you got to give him his props. But it's the team. They got a team, and they're well coached. Look, these cats, man, they're averaging 124 points a game, so they scoring. I don't think there's only maybe one team in the league scoring more than them, but they're only giving up 106. That's ridiculous. Their differential 17. They blowing people out on the regular. So more than likely, they're headed to another championship, but they could also be another Cleveland Cavaliers team. 66 wins and lose. I know but that's unlikely because unlike Cleveland, Oklahoma City with this team has already won a chip. So it ain't like they ain't never been there. They know how to win at crunch time. They know how to get playoff stops. They've been doing it already. But listen, I'm a Knicks fan. I ain't going to waste my time telling everybody the Knicks can't beat Oklahoma City. Only a non-Knicks fan would do that. And if you come on my channel with that, I'm going to assume you're a non-Knicks fan, and I'm going to get rid of you. So don't do it unless you just want to express yourself before your suicide. But anyway, they're tough. But most of the realistic teams are below them. So the Knicks right now, defensively, right, opponents' points per game, the Knicks are number 2 in the East. Differential, the Knicks are number 1 in the East. Points per game, the Knicks are number 2 in the East behind Miami. This is a really, really, really good team, y'all, that we have right here. And what in these situations, it's almost like steroids. What do I mean? In track and field, the fastest man in the world is considered the 100-meter guy. Whoever is the best 100-meter guy in the world is generally considered the fastest human on planet Earth. In a situation where you have 100 guys and everybody's pretty much the same physicality, body weight, muscle mass, fast twitch fibers, and then you get an elite, let's say 20. Very little separates the top guy from the bottom of them 20. Like maybe 2-3 tenths of a second. Not much, okay? So to get the edge, what some dudes do is they take steroids so that they can work out a little harder, recover a little less, and get a couple of ticks on their 100, just a couple of ticks. And it makes them from maybe number 20 to number 2 or number 1, right? In the NBA, a guy like a Josh Hart that is shooting at a higher percentage of open threes by 5 points, that's like a steroid. That gives you a slight edge off their competition. And for the Knicks, that edge could mean NBA Finals. That's where we at right now. Let's hope it continues. You all enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy this great team that we have. Shalom.